Speak Studios. Speak and be heard.
From the corner!
Sack and Jack, he's Rob Zachary. I'm Jack Ferris, episode 2 of the Friday shows, Rob.
I know. What do you like Fridays? Because I love Fridays.
I do. I understand people wanting to get a podcast on a Monday.
Just to start their week.
Just to start their week. It's something to have in their back pocket. They can get to it on Tuesday or Wednesday if they don't get around to it on Monday. But there's something about that Friday feeling. Donuts in the office.
Oh.
You know, you can wear flip-flops to work. I wear flip-flops to work more often than not. But, you know, oh, look, Sack and Jack on my iTunes. Hell yeah.
Oh, let me just listen to this. Let me subscribe.
Sweet. Thank you for subscribing. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, you know, all the stuff. YouTube, Speak, all the business. I don't know if you're going to see this one because I'm doing this at work, Rob, as you know.
How does it feel to go back to work, Jack?
Dude, it sucks. It sucks. I am
You've been a lone ranger for a long time. Now you're back into the saddle again, and I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to get back in that routine.
Totally. I was doing radio stuff from my bed at like 5 a.m. for the last year and a half. And so coming into work on Monday, my first week back, I put on like jeans, you know, and like shoes and socks and not like a button down, but you know, like,
right.
Like
just a shirt,
a nice hoodie. A decent hoodie. I walk in. I didn't see anybody. I walk in at like 4:45. I didn't see anybody till 11 a.m. I was like, well, mental note, I am wearing sweats the rest of the week. And I brought a backpack that has like some khakis just in case I need to talk to a boss.
Nope. You're always prepared, Jack. That's why I love you, brother. You're always prepared.
How was your week? How was your weekend?
Dude, it was a long week. You know, when you go on trips and then it's like you kind of, when you get back, you kind of just get slammed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Overwhelmed with stuff. Yeah.
That's kind of, and then you get back. It's kind of almost like what you're doing, going back to work, but it's just, but the weekend was fantastic. I flew into Grand Rapids with our great guest, Chris Kamen.
Mm-hmm. We FaceTimed by the pool.
Yeah, exactly.
That was before you guys were playing in the 3-on-3.
What?
That was before you guys took the court? Okay.
Oh,
okay. Yeah. So fill me in.
No. So we got into Grand Rapids. Then we drove up to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which, did you know the Upper Peninsula and I guess the rest of the state, they hate each other.
Yeah. The Ubers.
You know about that?
Yeah, dude. Ubers. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, buddy. Oh, you just got to give her. Oh,
yeah.
Geez, Louise.
There are different states in the same kind of regard that Seattle and Spokane are different states.
I would have to agree. And like they call the Upers call the people down south trolls because they're below the bridge. You know, and
that's much direct and meaner.
Dude, and we talked to a couple of them, and they were like, "Oh, we just thought you guys thought you were better than us. That's all." Mm-hmm. So we ended up going up to Iron Mountain. We played in a 3-on-3 tournament, the Gus Macker. Oh, the Gus Macker. Oh, geez, Louise, you playing in the Gus Macker? And we played that, and we won. Ended up winning the whole tournament. Now it was kind of a little bit unfair, but you know. That's capitalism at its finest. Was
it close? Did anyone?
I would say the last 2 games we've had to play the team back to back, and the first game we beat them by 5 points, but it goes by 1s and 2s, so it was semi close. But we ended up winning at the end of the day, and it was fun. And then we ended up driving all the way to Butte, Montana. And then I had Mayor Kip pick me up in Butte.
What was the cash prize?
Oh, I got a trophy, dude. That's even better.
Trophy. Where's the trophy?
Oh, it's like basketball. It's like it's a nice site, dude. It was a nice Santangelo. You need to start handing out trophies.
We need to update your Wikipedia page, pal. We need to put that on individual accomplishments.
Oh, dude, absolutely. Dude, I was going in there as a bombing mission. I went in there, I was like, especially after the first game, I was like, we're winning this. The competitive side just all of a sudden ramped up, and I was like, we have to win this.
Your team had 2 NBA players.
Yeah. 2 7-footers too.
Were there any other NBA players in the tournament?
No.
Yeah, that's outrageous. That's you had an NBA All-Star and a guy who played in the league for 5 years.
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit of an abuse. But
did you play in the top division?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that'd be great if you were like in the B division.
Just on the court, one of those side courts. No,
we're in our 30s, we don't exactly have it how we had it.
Dude, but you know what's crazy? And you know this, like, when was the last time you did something like sporting active?
Oh, I played volleyball in Hawaii and I was dead for 6 days.
Dude,
my quads were
exactly. I was in so much pain after those 4 games. I was like, I don't know if I can do this again.
Yeah, but it feels good. It
does.
So
while you're in it, it feels amazing. But afterwards, you're like, this is brutal, man. Yeah. Can't walk. But all in all, man, it was a great trip. I had an amazing time. Chris and I got into, let's just say we were in the car for 20 hours. So that guy can talk, and we ended up talking about God knows what. And it was just an all-around great trip. Came home, and like I said, you kind of get smacked in the face a little bit. Holy, and back to reality. So
I know, cool. And I'm the worst at this. I think my friends know this about me. After a weekend, a big weekend away or week whatever, I need like minimum 48 hours to crawl into a dark space. I think we've talked about this. I need to disappear from the world for a while. But I
get it.
You did crawl away?
I get it. I understand, but it's just not. I can't do it.
It's cowardice. It's cowardice. You could say it.
No, it's not cowardice. You just want to. You just kind of have to decompress a little bit of what happened and get back into the groove of your habits, I guess.
We're back into the groove here. Sack and Jack. Big guest today, Rob.
Huge guest. Literally, physically, a big guest.
He's a big dude. The picture of us, I look like I'm 5'7". I promise I'm not.
I know.
Mike Roth, athletic director, calling it quits after north of 2 decades at the helm of the athletic department at Gonzaga University. Excellent storyteller. It's funny. You can tell the difference between, sometimes coaches are guarded and they have coach speak and they have scripts that they go on. But then someone like Mike Roth, who's pretty much been, the president of athletics, he feels more like a politician in the best way. Does that make sense?
He's not dirty.
Yeah, he's not, but he knows how to craft stories. He knows how to make you feel welcome.
I'm excited. It was a great episode. And again, thank you to our listeners. And we're just building this thing up to be the best podcast in the world, baby.
That's right, pal. Let me ask you this. Olympics.
Yes, sir.
Your favorite Summer Olympic event?
Gymnastics.
Really?
Dude, because in men and women, I think it's pretty incredible. Like you see the rings. Dude.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, granted, those guys are 5 feet tall, if that, but the way they can pull themselves up on those rings, I know I don't have that shoulder power.
Maybe that's why you like it, is because you're a 7-footer, and we're all kind of drawn to what we can't do, kind of thing.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. It was I mean, I can't help.
I'm a track and field guy.
Oof. I'm not mad at you. Sprint, like the 100, 200, and 400, all that type of stuff.
No steeplechase, strictly steeplechase. Diehard steeplechase guy.
Really?
Yeah, no, dude, I like it all. No, the steeplechase is fun to watch though. That's the one where they run around and jump into water on the track.
Yeah, they look crazy.
Yeah. Olympics juiced up.
Right
Tokyo,
on, man.
Your town, brother.
Oh, arigato gozaimasu.
Bingo. All right, let's go listen to Mike Roth, pal. What do you say?
I love it.
Big one today, Rob.
Yes, sir.
Gonzaga athletic director, 24 years running. This past year was your 24th season?
Yep.
I'm like, do you prefer athletic director or director of athletics?
I just don't want to be called late for dinner
There it
mostly.
is.
So, I'm old school, so athletic director works for me. Some of the newer folks in the business I'm the director of athletics.
When Mike Roth walks into a room, Rob, don't you get the athlete vibe? Just the way he
he's a former player.
Yeah.
He's definitely a former
You can tell
player.
that.
Absolutely, 100%. The way he walks, he has a aura about him when he walks into the room that he draws everybody's attention. Doesn't want to. I know you don't want to. You're not an attention guy, but you draw it automatically.
Yeah, well, I did play, but that was peach basket days.
Right.
Hey, when I started playing college basketball, you couldn't dunk.
Really?
Dunking was not allowed. No 3-point line, no dunk, the whole
Everybody had one hand to dribble with. They couldn't dribble with the left.
No, I mean, come on.
Was it the set shot like in the 50s where you take a step forward
Yes.
and push the basket like that? That's still my jumper.
Not quite that, but almost.
Oh.
So playing college basketball, I mean, I don't think it's the dream of a ton of college athletes to become an athletic director.
Except for Rob Zachary.
Except for Rob Zachary.
Before we go any deeper on this, I want to say thank you very much for everything you have done for me and my family. Just off everything you've instilled and been a part of, I am very appreciative of everything you've done. So I just want to get that off the table. But yes, I wanted to be an AD. But then I saw all the work you took. And I'm like, cool, I'll be in construction.
Yeah. I kind of figured that that year Rob spent with us, he was going to get a little better taste of the people see the glamour side. They don't see the other side of the job. So, but yeah, no, I don't think I didn't dream about being an AD. I mean, I came out of school, I wanted to keep playing, but I wasn't like Rob. I wasn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I didn't know what I was going to do. And I just happened to have a former coach who said to me, why don't you come coach with me? And so I started coaching as an assistant at the junior college level. Big paychecks there.
Yeah.
Hey now.
I can imagine.
Zero.
Hey now. How old are you?
3 years I didn't get paid.
3 years?
That was the
3
love.
years.
It was for the love of the game.
That's how you start. You start.
How'd you support yourself?
I got another job that actually paid the bills. I was an employment counselor as I was coaching. And so, yeah, that's what got me started. I was an undergrad. I wasn't thinking about coaching or anything. I wasn't really thinking about anything, playing and, nightlife and young people.
Oh, yeah.
I get it.
18 to 22 years old. That's why when Rob would do stuff throughout his career, I'd get on him and everything else. I have to say something to him, and then I'd leave and I'd just start laughing.
I don't think you ever said anything to me.
I never had to say a word to you. Even when you took the bed, sledding, you took your teammate's bed, Austin's bed.
But everyone appreciated me taking Austin's bed.
It was hilarious. Oh, that was one of the classiest moves ever. I mean, that's one of those where you as an administrator, you bring the student athlete in and type of thing, and you say, come on, guys, let's not do stuff like that. And then they leave, and then you just crack up laughing.
What portion of your job in your 24 years has been that kind of thing where you're disciplining guys?
Very little.
I was going to say, if it's run up the flagpole all the way to you, it's got to be pretty bad.
It's a big deal at
that
point. Yeah. And even, again, we don't have much of that at Gonzaga. We have young men and young women that enjoy life and everything, but they know the boundaries for the most part. I remind people that when you're 18 to 22 years old, you do stupid stuff once in a while.
Sure.
We all did.
I'm 33.
Right. Yeah. And we sometimes they take it a little beyond that. And that's when, maybe it gets a little dicey, but for the most part, we've been blessed at Gonzaga with, I mean, during your time, Rob, I mean, we didn't have a lot of incidences where we had to, did we have to sit anybody down?
You never had to sit me down, which I felt like I should have been the one who had to sit down the most. But yeah, no, we were good. We were a good program.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's the quality guys and girls that we recruit. I think that's the big key for the success. Because you look at it, we don't bring really knuckleheads in for the most part.
No, and we've learned over the years with that too. We've gotten better and better with that over the years of less and less chance. In fact, we talk about it. I talk about with the coaches all the time that, look, we'll take chances on all kinds of things. Academics, we'll take chances on ability and those things. Let's just not take any chance on character.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not take.
Rarely does that change in a couple of years at school.
Well,
right?
not only that, it can destroy your program in a hurry. And you look at, just this past year's team. And again, as we were talking off air, I spent 24 days in what was the equivalent of a dorm hall with our guys, kind of like DeSmit is what it was.
No, it can't be. No, this is where we disagree right here.
On laundry day, it was a lot like it on laundry
I can imagine that.
Laundry day, it was just dirty everything up and down the hall.
Was there vomit in the urinals?
No.
Okay.
No, see,
all right.
So it wasn't quite. It
Okay.
wasn't DeSmit on a weekend.
Okay.
It was more DeSmit on a Tuesday.
I promise you, it wasn't DeSmit on a weekend.
Yeah, but it was. It was fun. Because we had great young men. That we're dealing with that are good people, and we spent all our time together. We ate every meal together. We did everything together because that's what we had to do.
Did you get down on some pickleball with the guys?
I did not play any pickleball with the fellas, to be quite honest with you, because,
Is that because you don't want to put yourself in a position where like the old man beats up the younger guys and the egos are bruised?
I'd do that in a heartbeat.
That's big of you.
Yeah. I would have been all over that. But no, I stayed away from the pickleball. I did get workouts in every day. And, we had, what was it? How many floors? Now I can't remember. It was 19 floors, I think. And so I did those stairs. I was up to 10 times, 10 times by 19 floors.
Really?
I had one of those young people from the testing area ask me about my workouts. I said, well, I'm going to go do the stairs if you want to join me. So she joined me for one flight, one step, one all the way to 19 back.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, we got 10 more to go. And she's like, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
Rule. I'd be gassed.
Yeah, it's old man stuff. See, it's
body in motion stays in motion, Mike.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Rob worked with you for a couple of years in the athletic department. He figured it wasn't for him. There had to have been a moment when you were a young man when you thought, maybe I could do this for the rest of my life, for my whole career, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, what happened was I'm in my third year of being an assistant coach, getting paid nothing, but it was, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was great working with the fellows on the floor and everything. But and I met my wife to be, and who now it'll be 38 years this summer.
Congrats.
And she convinced me, Linda convinced me, look, you need to get your master's degree. So I came to Gonzaga in the summer of 1982 to get my master's degree with the thought that someday I'd probably want to be an athletic director at a junior college.
Okay. That's where your
set the bar high.
Yeah.
Set the bar high.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course, that's not the way it worked out.
Mm-hmm.
It worked out a little bit different for me. And, but, even when I first started at Gonzaga, I wasn't sitting there going, oh, I'm going to be the AD here someday. That wasn't on my radar. Really wasn't. I looked at other opportunities, but I wasn't focused on that one for whatever reason. And, it's just the way things worked out. And I can connect a lot of dots. There's a lot of people to thank who made decisions that put me in a position there. They made me an offer on something, or they said, come do this or come do that. But it's what I tell young people all the time that come into my office, ask for, advice of things. And I kind of I chuckle when they leave because they're asking me for advice. And
what's the problem with that? What is the problem? I had to come see you. You say that?
Rob and I sat down. We talked about it. We talked about life and all those things. But one of the things I love to tell young people is, hey, Yogi Berra, when you come to the Y in the road, take it.
Mhm.
Don't stress over, should I do this or should I do that? Whichever one feels right, go for it. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, guess what? You're still young. Switch gears.
There's a question I've been wanting to ask you for like 15 years, and I think now is the time. In your 24-year career at Gonzaga, you hired exactly one men's basketball coach. After Munson went to Minnesota, I believe that was after your first or second year as the full-time AD.
Yep.
You obviously make the correct choice in hiring Mark Few, future
I
Hall of
think some
Famer.
people
Yeah, I
still
think it worked out.
question
Who else was up for that gig? If it wasn't Mark, who could it have gone to? I knew.
There was nobody.
Okay.
Here's the thing: is I had made a deal with Mark that year that he would be the coach in waiting. And one of our concerns, Muntz and I had the concern that Mark was an up and coming assistant at the time, and Ben Howland, who has connections to Gonzaga, Ben was the grad guy at Gonzaga in 1981, 81, 82, just before when Ben left, I got his job at Gonzaga.
Mm-hmm.
He got the head coaching job at Pitt.
Get out of here. You replaced
Ben Howland.
That's what?
Yeah.
Huh.
Ben Howland gets the head job at Pitt just the year before, at the same time Muntz takes over. And we were concerned that he was trying to get Mark. And
over at Pitt.
Yeah, to Pitt. And so we made, I made Mark this deal that, look, if you stay, you'll be our next head coach. And so, we go 99, we go to the Elite Eight, we have all those great things happening. People are coming after Muntz. We had proactively, which we've always done at Gonzaga, in my tenure at least, is taking care of our coaches before anybody calls them. Mm-hmm. We don't want to
fed.
Right. We don't want to react to anybody. We want to go ahead and be proactive. And so in that case, we made Muntz the highest coach in the league at that point, when he wasn't even close to that during that 99 season. And we took care of all that before we even played UConn. So we didn't wait till after or anything else. We had that deal done before we played UConn. And
so as the tournament was going on.
on. Yeah. And we've done that throughout. Every year with Mark, when we'd make changes with Mark, every year we would have the deals done before we played our last game.
Was Munson highly sought after before that run? Like, let's say if you guys lose to Minnesota,
no,
he's here for another 5-6 years or however long. Yeah.
Yeah. Unless it depended upon success. And so, and that's still common today. I mean, you see the coach from the small school makes a run in a tournament, and then they jump to another school. I mean, Mosier just got the job at Oklahoma from Loyola Chicago.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's just what
how it goes.
It's what happens. It's the way the business works. And so, WSU came after Muntz, and I remember Muntz coming in my office and saying, "Hey, thanks for, taking care of me salary wise and everything, because I did not want to take that WSU job." And us giving him the bump made it where he didn't have to.
Right.
And then but then when Minnesota kept striking out on coaches at that time, they were going into they were going into probation because they were on this academic stuff they had completely screwed up. So everybody knew they were going to be getting hammered by the NCAA. And so people kept turning them down. And when I got the phone call from Muntz saying, "Hey, they're coming out," I talked to Muntz's attorney, who's a good friend of mine, and he said, "Yeah, they're flying a jet out to pick him up." And I told at that time, I'm not sure Muntz had ever been on a private jet. And I told Father Spitzer at that time, I said, if he gets on that plane, he's not coming back. Mm-hmm. And so that, but I'll give Muntz credit. He got back there, and twice he pushed away from the table. Twice he said, "No, I'm going back to Gonzaga." And each time he did, they just piled more money on the table. Wow. And you can't blame him at that point for taking that job. I mean, he got paid 5 times more money than we could pay him at that point in time. And he's going to the Big Ten, and nobody really knew we could do what we were just starting to do then.
I'm sure even you had your doubts on me,
no.
honestly.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we had made the commitment we were going to be better and we were going to be different. Did we know we were going to go to 2 Final Fours the last few years and be the number 1 ranked team in the country, get the number 1 recruits in the country? I knew that, of course, as athletic director. I'm all seeing, all knowing.
That's why I make the big bucks.
Not.
Yeah.
But the funny part of the story is that so Muntz is back there and finally, and I'm keeping in touch with Father Spitzer because Father was back east. Father was our president, only been president for 9 months. He took over president in September, October of that 98, 99 year. So his only experience with Gonzaga athletics was go to the Elite Eight. And after we actually beat Stanford in the second round of the NCAA tournament, he was on the bus. Muntz and I get on the bus. Father's just ecstatic. He's going, hey, guys, this is the greatest thing ever. We need to do this every year.
Now, I heard Father Spitzer had like a real vision.
Yeah, yeah.
He was like a very big visionary and like really looked into the future of how this program was going to be.
Well, at that point, Father was just excited because he didn't understand athletics at all. He's not an athletic guy. He didn't grow up in an athletic background. I'm not sure he attended a basketball game before Gonzaga. And but he became very knowledgeable in his time with us. And it was just so funny because, hey, we got to do this every year. Well, guess what? It came true that we did it every year. But anyway, so then that summer, Muntz is back in Minneapolis, and I get the phone call from him, and he's crying, I'm crying, and I told him, Munch, it's the right decision.
Sure.
We support you. All those things. So get done with him. Call up Father Spitzer. Father he took the job. They're going to do a press conference here in an hour. And I just want to let you know. He goes, oh, Mike, oh my God. What are we going to do, Mike? What are we going to do? I said, Father, I told you. Mark Few's our next head coach. I told you. We'll do a press conference tomorrow. We'll let Muntz get his time in the sun today. And then we're going to do our press conference tomorrow and announce Mark as our head coach. He goes, oh, good. That's great. Which one is he?
I had no clue.
No clue. Well, you got to remember now, Billy and Mark about the same size, and Father's doesn't have the best
eyesight.
Eyesight,
right.
And so you give him credit, but it didn't take Father very long to know who Mark Few was.
I think everybody figures out Coach Few.
Yeah, but it was pretty funny because at the time it was great. That's great, but which one is he? But Mark, I've only hired, it's kind of funny because I've had over the years, other ADs call me and ask me about hiring basketball coaches.
Like you have the big secret.
And I tell them,
you saw,
I only hired 1 men's basketball coach. Guess what? I've only hired 2 women's basketball coaches. Yeah, Kelly and Lisa. And again, they both have turned out to be pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
great hires.
So my 3, between men's and women's, I've hired 3 basketball coaches in 24 years. And I think I've done okay with it, but I'm not an expert at it because I've only done it, on the men's side 1 time.
Now, hindsight being what it is, it's easy to see that Mark Few will be the head coach at Gonzaga until he doesn't want to be anymore, right?
Right.
How close, in your estimation, did it ever come to him leaving to go to an Oregon or a big name school?
There were a couple times
where you weren't quite sure.
No, there were a couple times where I was a little bit concerned.
Yeah.
There was 1 year at the same time. It was when Billy was an assistant for us, and my concern was Mark and Billy leave at the same time.
Right.
Billy takes the job first, and then Mark takes the job. And now I'm screwed. And now we're screwed. And the jobs that people thought that Mark would have taken or was most likely to take Oregon, it was never even close. Mark was never going to take Oregon. And that was disappointing to the Oregon people, and some people very close to us involved with that are close to Oregon were very disappointed that Mark didn't. Mark listened to the one person because he is, was instrumental on us starting out and everything financially, but Mark never even considered Oregon. Is there some job that he would consider? Absolutely. But for the most part, he's turned down UCLA. So that's one of the greatest basketball jobs in the history of the game because of what John Wooden did, and still today with crazy expectations, but still a great job. Indiana, Mark turned it down. Basically, technically, Mark turned down both UCLA and Indiana twice.
Twice each?
Twice each.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, there's, the list is long, actually. I mean, there was one school in the Big 12 that they had a benefactor that was, multi-billionaire, like in the top 10 in the world. And his offer included he would build Mark a trout stream.
No way.
And stock it?
Oh, yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
A private
Private
trout stream?
Yep. You'd build
Where?
it.
What?
A Big 12 school.
Just say
A Big 12 school.
Big 12. It's flat though.
Yeah.
Big 12's flat.
Yeah,
and
Big
then-
12's flat.
There's nothing for him there.
But yeah, that was, Mark's had crazy opportunities. But the thing that's now we're experiencing is just like with Tommy taking the Arizona job, that's like his, he could have taken 10 other jobs.
Absolutely.
It just ended up being that was the one at the right time, the right place. Lisa Fortier has turned down how many jobs so far? Mark Mactoff was offered the Stanford job a few years ago, his alma mater. Mark Mactoff played at Stanford, was all College World Series. He was on the team that won the College World Series in 87, I'd like to say. And, if there was a place you would think Mac would be going back to, because they do take care of their coaches there with things, even though it's a high cost of living, they do make sure that they adjust for that. He turned them down because of what we were doing and how special Gonzaga is. So, Mark Few's not the only coach to walk away from jobs. And in the same, we've got to hear it from assistants over the years. Donnie Daniels, Donnie called me up after, I announced my retirement, and Donnie and I have always had a special relationship, maybe because of our age. and he's told me multiple times, Mike, I've worked, and there's a guy that's worked at a lot of different places over the years. He said, it's just the experience at Gonzaga is unmatched. The Gonzaga athletic experience is completely different than any place I've ever been before. Ray Giacoletti says the same thing,
Do you think a huge part of that is the community as well?
Yeah, I think it's everything. I think it starts, I believe, it starts in the small scale. So it starts within the athletic department, then it grows to the Gonzaga, then it grows to Spokane, then it grows to, the inland Northwest here. And then now the whole, Zag Nation is worldwide.
Correct.
It's been up in, BC for a lot of years now, ever since, Big Rob came
Ever
down.
since Big Rob opened the door.
Big Rob
Yeah.
came down.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Men's and women's basketball players. We've had a lot of BC women's basketball
Yeah.
players, and again, another one coming in this year.
Yep.
So, Rob opened the door to a lot of that.
I think my favorite thing about Mike Roth is generally athletic directors during games, basketball or football or otherwise, during games, they sit in the suites or, they hobnob with the boosters the whole time, suit and tie, the whole nine. Mike Roth doesn't sit down.
No, he wants
entire
everyone to
game.
look at his new shoes he's got. He's got some kind of new shoes on. He's
I know. I don't want people to look at them. It's just my thing.
Oh, talk to me.
Shoes are my thing.
There
it
you
is.
go. Look
There
at
it
this.
is.
Talk to me.
Yeah, see, I got these are what does he call
Air Max.
No, these are they're all Nikes, but these are Dalmatians, they call them.
Dalmatians.
I have people that name my shoes for me. Yeah. Lorinda Sims likes to name my shoes for me.
Is that a stress thing? Do you just do you handle the games better walking around, pacing around?
Sure. You got to remember, I went from playing.
Yeah.
So I've been in college athletics since I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
Playing, then coaching, then into an administrative role.
Oh, he's huffing and puffing in that hallway.
How are you?
Oh, yeah.
The coaches, when you're coaching, you get to get up and you walk around and yell and all these other things. Well, if you're sitting in the stands as an AD, you
feel helpless.
Yeah. You can't really yell very much because people are going to look at you and they're going to wonder what he's saying and if it's good, who's he yelling at, or whatever might be the case.
Does he look nervous? Does he look confident?
And so, I'm able to burn energy. I can pace. I can, when we designed McCarthy, when we were working with the architects and design, they had designed 2 tunnels to start with, just one on,
Either side.
on either side. Yeah. And I'm like, no, we have 4 tunnels and and they have to connect underneath all the way around
Mhm.
because I want to be able to walk.
Take
where
laps.
Nobody can see me. Right. Take laps during timeouts. I mean, that's what I do. I mean, I haven't seen a timeout in 20 some years.
Well,
I literally, buzzer goes for a timeout, whistle goes for a timeout, and I'm out of there. I'll grab a stat sheet or something and I go for a walk. Same thing in Indianapolis. I'd go for a walk. I'd go sit in the back. I get to know on the road every usher, every security person. They're all become my best friends.
Your reaction. Have you seen his reaction to the Jalen shot? There's a baseline angle from behind where you see Jalen's backside from that baseline.
yeah.
And beyond the basket is Mike Roth looking like he's 32 years old with like a 45-inch vert. He's
Jumping,
in the air,
jumping.
fist pumping. It's a great image. It's
I got a
unbelievable.
little excited.
Well, that's the thing about being a former player. It's like all the control is out of your hands. You don't control anything. And so it's hard for me sometimes watching the game because you feel like you can do something and be a part of it, but there's nothing you can do.
Right. And the older you get, Rob, the better you see the game.
It slows down tremendously.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just watching these guys and you start getting huffy and puffy and you're like, man, this is come on, just make the right pass, make the right play, and you just get frustrated. But I understand where you're coming from completely. And I would watch him when I was working at GU.
Pace around.
Oh,
yeah.
And then you go to the media room and go get a little snack here and there.
Uh-huh.
He wasn't fooling nobody.
I did have people that would wonder if I was watching the games because they'd be watching the game, timeout, they'd look into the tunnel.
You were gone.
I'm gone.
Yeah.
Right.
So they think I'm not watching the game. You're too nervous. You're not watching any of the game. No, I watch every second of the game. I just don't watch timeouts.
I got bad news for you, Mike. Now that you're going to be watching more games on TV from home, it's a lot more stressful watching on TV.
Oh, trust
Wouldn't
me.
you agree, Rob?
Absolutely.
I think being there, you're not worried about you're in the heat of the moment a little bit more.
Yeah.
Watching the games in person. On TV, you feel like you have no
Oh
control.
yeah.
So,
I had no control anyway, but over the years watching at home on TV, I don't like to travel as much as I used to. So I don't go to very many road games anymore. And so we have a system at home. Linda watches upstairs and I watch downstairs. And it's kind of funny because we're on a satellite and for some reason the downstairs TV is like a second or half a second ahead.
Oh, so you can.
I'm screaming and she knows
That's the worst.
something's happening.
That's the worst. Yeah.
But we are not in the same room. We will, it's when I watch games on TV, I am by myself.
That is so relatable. I think so many people are listening to this thinking like, wow, I'm just like Mike Roth.
Yeah.
Well, 100% because your significant other does not want to be in the room when you're like locked in, focused. And the last thing you want to do is snuggle watching this game,
There's no snuggling. No, it's pacing. It's, and the funny thing over the years too is, we hear it, Rob heard it, and has heard it before too. Our fans will say, oh, I'm really looking forward to this game. It should be really close. And I'm like, I hate that.
Yeah. When people,
geez, this was a blowout. I love that.
Love the blowouts.
And that's the hard part is
love it.
You want fans to come to the game and love that like intense atmosphere, but you want to win at the end of the day.
Right.
That's what really matters.
And all that matters is I tell people hey, as long as we're ahead when the buzzer goes off.
Right.
It's all that matters. If we're ahead by 1 or 30, it doesn't matter. When the buzzer goes off, it says W after Gonzaga, which again, we've done a few times. That's a really good feeling. And, people that say it's not that important don't understand it.
Yeah.
Well, they've never lived it.
Right.
It's a lifestyle.
It is.
And that's one thing when I saw from being an AD is truly it never stops.
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing with people all the time.
24/7.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And I don't think people really understand what you have to deal with and be in your shoes, like constantly, you're never going to appease you're not going to be happy. No one's going to be always happy. You're
Right.
always going to make someone upset.
Well, a good friend of mine, his name is Jim Livingood, and some of your listeners or viewers will know him. Jim was the AD at WSU a long time ago, and then he went from there to Arizona. Was at Arizona when Lute was there, and they were really rolling. And Jim, I've known him since I was in high school because he was actually a high school coach in a neighboring town.
Huh.
And so I've known him ever since I was 15 years old. And
A neighboring town of Moses Lake.
a neighboring town of Moses Lake, Ephrata.
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's where Jim was coaching. And he told me this was probably like 2003, something like that. So we'd been, a few years into the run. And he and I were talking one time, and he said, "Mike, you got to understand something." And I'm like 43, 44 years old. And he goes, "Mike, you got to understand something here. The more successful your programs are, the more successful men's basketball is, the more being the AD is living in dog years."
Mm.
And I laughed at the time because, I'm
Does that make
early
sense?
40s.
Yeah,
I'm
how
like,
does that make
come
sense?
on, and then I realized a few years later, he's right. I mean, it just doesn't end.
It drains you.
It just drains you. And that's why people don't last 24 years anymore in the profession, at least at one school. You just can't. It's just too hard on your family. It's hard on you physically, psychologically, stress wise, everything. And people don't realize that unless you walk, unless you're walking in those shoes, unless you live it every day. And, as well as, Chris Standiford, who's taken over as AD, Shannon Straw's taken over as deputy AD. Rob's known him since he was 18 years old. They've been with me both since they were 22 years old.
Wow.
They both started with me their senior year at Gonzaga.
As AD, not as
is just working with me.
Oh, really? So it was
in the
just
program?
they didn't even have a assistant AD title. It was just
no.
it was
Chris
just
was a grad. Both of them started out as grad guys. Both of them started out as grad guys and just continue to work up the food chain. And that's one of the reasons I'm so excited for our future athletically is because they're taking over.
right.
And they have such ownership in what we've done and everything, but they know what they're getting into also because they've lived it with me.
Right, 100%.
They understand the stress and they're already feeling it.
There is a stress, man, when you have to get to a certain budget. Oh
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's, that's the case anywhere. And now with name, image, and likeness, it's a whole new world.
Now, how do you? go ahead.
I do want to dive into name, image,
how do you feel about this?
because part of you has to be like, thank God I'm getting out before this happens. But before we get there, real quick, you talked about it a little bit, kind of being a victim of your own success. More money, more problems.
Right.
As the great philosopher once said. Look, scheduling. In the last 5-6 years, Spokane, specifically the McCarthy Athletic Center, has become an acceptable destination for big-time programs. North Carolina, for God's sakes,
UCLA,
Arizona, UCLA.
Yeah. Michigan State.
Michigan State. Your first couple of years, I think I looked it up, 1998, I think the biggest non-con team that came in was Idaho.
Yeah.
You've never had a problem kind of doing neutral sites, Spokane Arena for Washington State, UW, et cetera, et cetera. When do you think you turned the corner in getting the respect of big time programs to do legit home and homes? And whether you don't have to name the programs, but were there any programs that kind of laughed you off the phone when you tried to set something up?
Early on, for sure. I mean, and we had, as Rob knows, Dr. Jerry Krause, our good friend, was doing our scheduling for a lot of years. And he would just pound, people, I mean, it took us 10 years to get Notre Dame as an example. Now, we're so much better than Notre Dame now. I'm not sure we would play them home and home, as an example. But it took forever to get that game put together. And at the same time, the interesting thing with putting those games together is you can get coaches to agree. They'll say, oh, yeah, we'll play. But you can never get them to agree when. And you can never get them to agree where.
The site, sure.
Home and home.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going home and home. But we got to start at our place. And they both say it at the exact same time, but we have to start at our place. And so then the game never happens. But you're right. I think that it was shortly after we moved into McCarthy, though, is when everything turned for us because we no longer had a gym. We had an arena. And that made it happen. And you look back in those years, that's when we switched to home and home with Washington, and had Washington coming in. And again, we beat them 9 out of 10 games during that stretch, but they were still, most of them were pretty darn good games. But then we started to, evolve. The first big game we had in McCarthy was Virginia. We had University of Virginia come in.
That's right.
But then since then it was Notre Dame and Michigan State, and we've had Big 12, SEC, ACC teams in that building, and now I think the biggest move there was 17 we go to the Final Four, and then that fall 18 we're in the PK 80.
Yeah.
The Phil Knight Invitational, and it was a great event. And Mark and Roy are hanging out together again there. And Roy says, "You know what, Mark, we should be playing home and home. Let's put together a home and home."
That's how it works.
And that's what we did.
Yeah.
So we played them at their place, and then they came out, we played, they played at our place. In that, I think that game really solidified it where nobody can say they won't do it.
Sure. Now, right.
Yeah. And, we've got Kansas on the schedule, and we've, et cetera. And with Coach K retiring, who knows, his successor might be willing to do it. But for the most part, there's nobody that's not. You're getting to play the number 1 team in the country.
Is there a program that, for lack of a better phrase, pissed you off 10 years ago that now if they approached you and wanted to play, you'd be like, maybe not so much?
Nah, not so much. We had some run-ins with a couple
Blue
programs,
Bloods? Yeah.
coaches maybe that, kind of yanked us around a little bit, and there's no reason to schedule them type of thing. But
can you give us a hint?
No. But
he's doing being professional right now.
Scheduling's really, really hard.
Yeah.
It's crazy hard. Mark will tell you it's one of the hardest things we do is scheduling, because in our case especially, because we're balancing our league schedule with the non-league schedule, with tournaments, with everything else, and then
venues.
And you're trying to figure out, okay, how good is your team going to be?
Mm-hmm.
And so you look at some of our schedules over the years, we knew that 17 team was going to be really good, and we played a tough schedule. We knew this year's team was going to be really good. Now, this year's team got all jumbled up because of COVID, but what did we throw in there? All of a sudden we're playing Iowa and Virginia and Kansas. Those weren't on our schedule originally. Those came after COVID. And, but that's, again, Mark realized we're going to be pretty darn good. Rui's year, Rui and Branson's year, there was a little bit of concern there, of were we going to be as good the next year? Were we going to be as good to the 20 team that was going to be a number 1 seed?
Yeah.
We started out with who's going to be our point guard?
Right.
Will we even have one? I remember early in the year that Mark said, we only have one guy on the team that can dribble.
No one knew who Ayayi was.
Yeah.
No one knew who Joel Ayayi was.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we just, kick butt. And again, I think we had a chance, depending upon what was going to happen with other postseason tournaments, with the Big 12, et cetera. We could have been the number 1 overall seed in 2020.
Sure.
With that team, with Tilly getting healthy, finally playing healthy, we were going to be hard to beat, because Petrusev, I don't know if anybody realized how good he really was.
Great footwork, great hands.
He just scored 20 some points in the Olympic qualifier that they got beat in, but still, I mean, he's out there. He's not playing against 18 to 22-year-olds in that thing.
Could have used him in Indy a couple of months ago. Big
Yeah.
Phil.
I mean, at the same time, it's one of those things that Mark's been a master of over the years, is managing minutes. And this year's team will be another challenge with that. But last year's team, we could have used one more big. We definitely could have used one more big.
But I don't know if Tilly would have, or
Timmy
would have grown.
Exactly.
Right.
That was the thing.
Because both those guys are playing in the post, and that's where this year's team is not going to have that issue,
right?
Because you're going to have Timmy and Chet
in and out.
Chet's not going down in there posting up a lot. I mean, he weighs as much as one of Rob's legs.
Totally.
100%.
Yeah.
I can't argue with
Yeah,
that.
and so he's the opposite of Rob Sacre. Rob came in as a freshman jacked, and Chet's coming in looking like a pencil, but he's crazy skilled, and you got to guard him at the 3. And if you come running at him, he's going to bounce it right by you, and he can really pass. And so you're going to who you're going to guard, who you're not going to guard. That's one of the things coaches do is they try to figure out who they're not going to guard.
Right.
Okay, we don't need to, like this year's team, who you're not going to guard. There were a couple games where they thought, okay, we're just not going to focus on Joel. That didn't work out real good for those teams that didn't focus on Joel. They found out he is really good. And if you don't get a body on him, he's going to get every rebound. First triple-double in the history of Gonzaga.
Yeah, it was hard to believe, huh?
He did it 2 minutes into the second half.
Right. He almost did it a couple times this season. Yeah.
Words can't describe how well he plays, man.
Yep.
And the IQ he brings to the game, it's incredible.
Yeah. And you have to go back. People should go back and watch some of the games this year and just focus on him during, don't follow the ball.
He's the X factor.
Just follow him and see how he all of a sudden gets himself open or gets again, he's 6'5", but he weighs 180 pounds, soaking wet. And he's young. He just turned 21 in March. While we were in Indy is when he turned 21. So he's a kid, but he's got the thing you can't coach. You can't coach the feel for the game. You can't coach knowing where to move and what to do.
Where to be.
Yeah, where to be. Yeah, and great at that.
Can't coach skill like Chet Holmgren. Good transition here into name, image, likeness. Look, I think 10, 12 years ago when Rob and I were in school, it would have been easier for Gonzaga. Rob gets a sponsorship from like State Line or does a Zips commercial. Whatever. It's easy.
That's a good one.
Yeah, whatever. Chet is the number 1 player in America.
Yeah.
He's got 300,000 Instagram followers. How the hell do you prepare for that? Or do you just kind of go with the flow and see how it works out? I mean, that's how.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a great compliance staff, Ryan Oliver heading that up and Scott Garrison, and we're going to have to add more people to handle this. But we've been preparing for this for over a year. And
but how do you prepare for it?
What we do is reach out and we're learning. We can't, this is stuff you have to talk with other people about. You got to talk with professionals, at the professional level. How have they done this? And then we put together a plan. And we've sat down already. We sat down with Chet and his parents before he ever got to campus.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, here's the plan. Here, if, we knew it was coming, but you still had to say if this gets passed, here's how we are going to be able to operate, giving him the most freedom we possibly can.
Wow.
Of course, at the same time, maintaining the control that the NCAA is going to require us to maintain. And then, of course, as a Catholic Jesuit institution that you both graduated from, that there's some things that we have to say, no, you can't get involved in. From that standpoint,
State Line being one.
Yeah. I mean, there's some things in there.
Yeah,
but
I would have been a good spokesman.
Yes, but it was, those are things that are not going to be issues. We think that we are positioned as well as anybody in the country to handle this. We've got Dr. Ken Anderson and the Dean of the School of Business, alum, former player at Gonzaga also. They are working with us on setting up an educational system for all of our student athletes so they can learn how to monetize their name, image, and likeness. And the reality is it's not just the star player. There's going to be
a lot
influencers on social media. Your star players are going to make the most money and they'll get the biggest sponsorships because if you're a Chet Holmgren, think about it. I mean,
I can't imagine. I don't want to.
Wouldn't you want to sign him right now?
Right.
For his future?
Yeah.
Forget just Gonzaga year, but what's his future going to be? And so wouldn't you want to sign him right now if you're a major corporation?
Oh, he's going to be driving a nice car on campus. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, those types of things. And it was inevitable. It had to happen. I mean, this is it going to change college athletics? Yes. Will it destroy college athletics? I believe no. but I'm cautious there too. I'm what makes college athletics special is their student athletes, and fans love to come out and watch and support. And Rob will tell you how supportive our benefactors are with our student athletes, not handing them money, but just
being there.
Yeah, and enjoying it because they know that Rob Sacre not only was a great player who went on to play all those years in the NBA, but also he walked across the stage and got his degree.
Yeah, sure.
And so if it becomes professionalized, if they start to view players as professionals, will we lose something in that regard to college athletics, and will it start a slippery slope that ends up someplace where none of us want to be?
Yeah.
That's a big fear.
Yeah.
But you can't be paying coaches millions of dollars. By the way, ADs don't get paid.
Oh, I know. That's why I pulled out, buddy.
But coaches, millions of dollars, whether you're, Nick Saban or Calipari or any of these guys, and then players just get their scholarship. Now, again, the scholarship's valuable because you graduated from Gonzaga.
Yeah.
You have any debt?
Still a little bit lingering. Yeah.
Rob, do you have any debt?
I ain't complaining. I tell Q, my son, go get a scholarship so you don't have to pay a dime.
Exactly. And that's real. That is real, because I told Rob on his visit, I told his mom on his visit, some things he's going to come to Gonzaga. He's going to win a bunch of basketball games, championships, hang banners, all those types of things, stuff nobody can ever take away from him. But he's also going to get his degree, something nobody can take away from him.
Well, that's the thing about Gonzaga that I think no one really, everything you guys have said, you, Coach Few, everything you guys have said has come true. It truly has come true in my life.
Well, the only thing that didn't come true is I asked your mom specifically if I could set a pair of size 13s in your backside if I needed to. And she said yes, but I don't think I ever got to.
You didn't have to. You didn't have to. You never needed to.
Those Dalmatians would have a little brown on the backside.
Yeah, I've yet to have a parent say I couldn't do that.
Okay,
by the way. I ask them all. I ask them all.
It's a red flag, I think, if a parent says you shouldn't.
And I usually ask them in front of their sons.
Yep. But she was cool about it. She was
Rob's
willing.
the coolest person on the planet.
Willing to give me a spanking.
She is the coolest person on the planet. Love her.
I do have a question, and you may not be able to answer this fully yet because you guys might still be working it out. But you mentioned Nick Saban. So Alabama put out restrictions that no player can endorse with an alcoholic company, an adult entertainment company, tobacco company, and I think maybe one other thing. BYU has a lot of restrictions, which makes sense.
Yep.
Do you guys have restrictions out yet?
Yep.
What are those?
Yeah, we have our restrictions out. They're actually accessible on our website, and it is the same. NCAA issues. So it's no, alcohol, no tobacco,
gambling,
no drugs, no gambling.
That's all the good stuff.
Yeah, right. That's all the money.
I'm done. I didn't make any money. I'm done.
And it's that, and then it's again, things that go against the university mission, the Jesuit Catholic mission. That's it.
Sure.
It's pretty simple for us, but it's part of the process will be helping. If there's a gray area, if somebody says, "Well, will this fit?" Well, okay, then we sit down and
conversation.
Say, okay, yeah, here's why it does, or here's why it doesn't.
Yeah.
For the most part, I think it'll be pretty black and white from that standpoint. And because of the student athletes that we get at Gonzaga, they all understand it. I mean, again, I've got some great Rob Sacre stories, but they're not the funny ones. The great Rob Sacre stories are the impact he made on others' lives throughout, still does today, but throughout his career that people don't know about, because he did understand that he was somebody that everybody looked up to, that he, not just because he's 7 feet tall, but because he's a Gonzaga basketball player wearing the jersey, and that he could make an impact on other people's lives. And, the story, so I'll get off on a tangent here, and I'll really embarrass him here on this one. But
his son's in the corner.
We had the HBO special in 2016 where they followed us around. Now, long after Rob was done playing and everything, but what we gave them complete access to everything. Those cameras followed us around on everything except one thing we told them they couldn't follow us to. That was up to the hospital. When we would take the team up to the hospital or Shriners or whatever and meet with kids and talk to kids. And that all started when Rob was at Gonzaga. And you've never seen anything like this. Rob Zachary goes in the room and he knows, because he's talked, the people tell him going in, look, this young man, this young woman, this kid, Hugh's age, is dying. Okay? There's really not much we can do for him. That scares the bejesus out of every other 18 to 22-year-old. Okay?
Yeah.
It just scares them.
Yeah.
And rightfully so.
Yeah.
Rob would go in and sit down and get a book and spend the whole night reading a book or books with that person. And it wasn't, look at me, nobody knew it. Nobody outside of the team, nobody was even aware that Rob would do that all the time. Because that's the person he is. And the impact on, that young person, the young person's family, the nurses and doctors, mind-blowing. The impact he made on people's lives by what he did without wanting anybody to know it. A lot of places they would have said, well, let's get the cameras up there. Let's make sure the media knows this. We really need to take advantage of this. Our attitude has always been, because of Rob, it's always been, it's not about any public recognition. It's about what it does for that family, that young person who's, whatever's happening to them health-wise. It's for the doctors and nurses. It's also for the player.
Speaking of pay for play, did you accept $50 or $100 from Rob for that? Little story, little anecdote.
Well, wait a minute. 100?
No,
I don't even start at 100. It's much bigger than that. It's much bigger than that.
Mike Roth, you've been very generous with your time.
Yes.
Before we let you go, I do have one more question.
Sure.
I'd be kicking myself if I let you get away without this one. Look, the lazy criticism of Gonzaga is the conference, right? And why can't we get in a better conference, et cetera, et cetera. I won't bore you with that. I do think moving over to the Pac-12 is a logistical nightmare because football reigns supreme.
Yeah.
And we don't have a football program.
We would do it in a heartbeat.
Right. The Mountain West, though, I think Rob and I have talked about this, it's a lateral move at best because in any given year, BYU, St. Mary's is as good as a San Diego State.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a lateral move.
Right.
And you're going to worse cities and the travel schedule's way weird. You're not going to LA and San Francisco.
Miami,
and,
Wyoming, no thank you.
Yes.
et cetera, et cetera.
In there.
But a few years ago, sounds like we were close.
Yeah.
Were we a phone call away, a text
No,
message away?
Here's what happened. If we have a few minutes,
Yeah,
I'll run you through it. Is we go to the championship game that June, 1st of June, we're at our league meetings and my phone rings and it's a representative, former AD that has his own consulting business. And he calls me and says, hey, Craig Thompson and the Mountain West want to talk to you guys about possibly joining the conference. And I said, we'll listen. I said, I won't guarantee anything other than we will listen. And I left that phone call and went and met with our commissioner because we were together for league meetings. And I told her, I said, hey, I just got off the phone with the Mountain West. They called me. I didn't call them, but we're going to listen. And in what is great about America, one of the many things that's great about America is competition. And all of a sudden, all the things that we had been pushing the conference, the West Coast Conference, to, this is not fair. Gonzaga's doing this for everybody else in the conference, and the conference in return is doing very little for Gonzaga, got their attention. And I ended up traveling. We ended up meeting all the time in Seattle. It's these clandestine meetings and stuff. I didn't think we needed to do it, but everybody else did. So,
could have been done in an email, guys.
yeah. So I'm on a plane all the time to Seattle to the point there is a Hilton there right at the airport. So I could take a shuttle to the Hilton there. And I had a meeting room. They literally, I swear they had my name on it because I was in there like every other week, either meeting with representatives of the West Coast Conference or meeting with representatives of the Mountain West.
This is the summer of 2017?
That was the summer of 2017. And we did not finalize it until February.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Of 18.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it was close.
It was close.
You
yeah.
were going either way.
We were going
Pros and
either
cons,
way,
okay.
but you're right, Jack. Is that Huey and I talked about this a lot. We were going to make either conference,
So yeah, right.
Yeah.
You were the cherry on top of the
and
conference.
so we make the Mountain West crazy better.
Mhm.
We make the West Coast Conference crazy better. We're the key to it, and what actually pushed it for us to stay in the West Coast Conference was the commissioner. The West Coast Conference commissioner at the time, Lynn Holtzman, the president from USF, Father Fitzgerald. We sat down with them, and really good people who paid really close attention to how things work. And we all talked about the fact that the NCAA monies that come in from men's basketball are paid out over 6 years. So we had money coming in for the next 6 years that we had already earned as a conference. And so
You were going to lose that
we
jumping to Mountain West.
backdated.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
we
Oh.
backdated our agreement basically. So our new agreement with the West Coast Conference went back 6 years,
Uh-huh.
not just going forward.
Oh, wow.
And the Mountain West would have only been going forward.
Uh-huh.
So it became multi-millions of dollars difference.
Interesting.
And it's not just the Gonzaga money now. Again, any school could earn that. It's set up so any school can earn it. Any school can get that reward. But that's what made the difference of us staying in the conference. We're a great fit in this conference, with all of our sports and academically and institutionally and all those things. But financially, it really made a huge difference, being able to push that and get that deal done, and give credit to Lynn and Father Fitzgerald at USF at the time, very supportive of us. Not everybody was, don't get me wrong, because basically everybody was taking all those millions of dollars and they get split 10 ways. So we got 1/10 of what we had earned. And now we've changed it so it still gets split up and everybody still gets a share. Just the team that earns it, if you go beyond that first weekend, you get the lion's share of the money. And the last 6 years, if you take out 2020, we've been to the Sweet 16 or better.
Insane.
The
right.
only school in the country to do that. So we've had money rolling in at a pretty high clip. Now, as far as what the future will hold, I mean, there's ADs in the Big East that continue to talk with me that they would love to have us in the Big East.
That's just
That would be a nightmare, though.
Well,
I mean,
that's the
just
thing.
you live on a plane.
Until
That would be great.
it's not realistic.
it's teleporting.
Yeah,
Teleporting.
Yeah.
See, as soon as we get teleporting, we're in the Big East.
You'd have a great home
Yeah.
court advantage, though.
Yeah. Well,
3,000 miles away from.
but so would they.
Yeah, right.
Huey was great during the, anytime he's talked with me about that, Mike, we got to get this Big East deal done. I said, Mark, I've talked with everybody. He goes, well, just tell them, that we don't have any problem. We have a charter. We'll get back there. We'll be able to be there. I said, Mark, they don't care about us flying to New York or Washington, D.C.
Philadelphia. Yeah.
They care about them flying
Flying
to
to
Spokane.
yeah.
And when the Big East split up and then reformed as just basketball, and they brought Creighton and Butler in, they struggled with Creighton,
Oh, really?
which was really good in basketball at the time. They had McDermott,
Yep.
young McDermott playing
Uh-huh.
at the time. They packed that building every game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a name brand.
Yeah, they run Omaha.
Their problem was Omaha, Nebraska is so far.
Omaha is.
They think Omaha's far.
It's halfway across the country, folks.
Oh, boy.
You put a pin in the middle of the country, you hit Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're halfway to Spokane.
Yeah.
So I used to say, Big East was viewing Omaha as being on the moon. We're freaking on Pluto.
Yeah, sure.
We're so far out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that.
So it was more them saying no than us saying we were kind of mad about it.
We would have jumped to the Big East in a heartbeat.
Oh, is that right?
We would have made it work. We would
Okay.
have figured it out.
Okay.
And so we never said no.
Hmm.
We never turned down. There was never an offer.
Interesting.
And that's one of the things that'll be interesting going forward, because the Knight Commission has been really pushing that football has to break off and do its own thing. And even with name, image, and likeness, it makes sense, because the big money, I mean, you look at you look at the salaries of women's basketball coaches and baseball coaches and softball coaches at the Power 5 schools, they're getting paid a lot of money because those schools have a lot of money to pay them, and they get that through football.
Correct.
And so if football went and did its own thing, bowl football was just that. They're not a part of the NCAA. All the rest of their sports still are part of the NCAA. We could see some conference realignment at that point. We could see, super conferences getting put together, and that could still happen. Gonzaga, we've positioned ourselves to be ready for that. We draw great. We draw great on the road. I mean, Roy told us when we went to North Carolina that year, so that was 18-19, with 18-19 with Rui's group and Brandon. Roy took Mark and I for a tour, and Roy told us this building's way too big. It's 20-some thousand seats. He said it's just way too big. He said we'll only sell out 3 games this whole year. Duke, North Carolina State,
Virginia,
Gonzaga.
Oh yeah,
That's incredible.
That's awesome.
And they did. They sold out that building for our game. Students weren't on campus.
Wow.
Christmas.
Christmas break.
Yeah.
It's Christmas break. Yeah.
You must hate those games, by the way.
Who doesn't?
Portland State.
Oh, those are the worst.
2009. Sorry, I always got to bring up Portland State.
I know.
Ken Bone was with us,
for
a while, and we used to just joke about it because we got them there. They weren't coming. There was
you like bust them up there,
blizzard,
right?
The blizzard.
They couldn't get a bus to drive them out of Portland. We got a bus, drove them up through Seattle.
Paid them to be there to begin with.
Oh yeah, paid them a bunch of money, and then they beat us. That was a bad. That was a bad 3-game stretch.
Arizona in there?
Well, no, because we lost to UConn.
Yeah.
We lost to
Arizona. It was Arizona because I was supposed to play
down in Phoenix.
Down in Phoenix, I was supposed to play, and I broke my foot 2 days before that Arizona game, and it was Arizona. Then it was Portland State. Then we came back from like 3 days off, and we practiced on Christmas Day. Came back, and then we played UConn and Utah.
Yeah, lost both those.
Yeah, and it was just
the
sky was falling.
Yep.
Get me 10 fast.
And then we didn't lose again.
Right, that was a good team. That was the only 9
we
team.
didn't lose again
until
until
North Carolina.
With their crazy good team.
Yeah,
in Memphis.
Yep. Oh
Ribs,
yeah, I remember that game too.
I remember the ribs.
Oh, I remember something like that too.
Mike Roth, congratulations on a legendary career. Crazy
Thank
to
you.
think you've hired 3 basketball coaches total, 1 men, 2 women, and 1 is a surefire Hall of Famer.
He is already. As somebody asked me a year or 2 ago, they said, "You ever sit down with Mark and talk with him about what he should be doing during games and stuff?" I looked at him, I said, "So I'm going to sit down with a guy that's guaranteed into the Hall of Fame and tell him how to coach, right?"
You can give him tips on the shoes.
Yeah, I can give him tips.
He can improve his shoe wear.
Yeah, I can give him tips on that. I know better. If I'm telling people how to coach, I got the wrong coach.
100%.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for everything.
Appreciate what
Mike.
you guys do for Gonzaga, and of course, Rob, your whole career, but not now, even beyond it. And the story I told about Rob at the hospital is the type of person that your viewers and listeners need to know, that they hear the Rob Zachary loud and state line. Oh, that's not. That's
kind of true. He is a sneaky nice guy.
I'm a Gemini, man. I'm a Gemini, man.
He is the nicest, most caring person on this planet about other human beings, no matter who they are. I have a plaque in my office that typifies Rob. The character of a man is judged by what he does for someone who can do nothing for him in return. That's who Rob Zachary is.
Treat people like they want to be treated, man. That's all I try to do.
Yeah. You make us proud every day, buddy.
Oh,
appreciate it.
That scares me. I appreciate you,
That's
Mike.
it.
Well, hopefully your mom will listen to this, and she'll call you up and get you back to ground level.
Absolutely.
From the corner!
Again, thank you so much to Mike Roth. Unbelievable career. We are so happy that he gave us the hour plus of his day to hang out in that hot Speak studio.
Oh man, too hot to handle.
Too hot to handle. Rob, I hope you have a splendid weekend.
Thanks, buddy. You too.
Yeah. Thank you. Do you have anything to leave us with?
Be better than you were yesterday.